Her hands trembled as she unfolded the receipt, $3.200/month for an apartment she never knew existed. Suddenly, all those late nights at work, emergency calls and business dinners made horrifying sense. But the real shock awaited her inside those walls. Among the trash and another woman's belongings. What she discovered there erased 10 years of marriage in an instant. Little did her husband know, his worst nightmare was just beginning. Let's rewind to how this all started. Alice Clark used to take pride in her marriage, 10 years of stability, 2 beautiful kids, a spacious home in a prestigious Chicago suburb where every hedge was perfectly trimmed and the neighbors sighed with admiration at the sight of their picture-perfect family. James was a successful executive at a major tech company. She was the ideal wife and mother, running a cozy blog about family happiness and marriage hacks. Their life seemed drawn with a ruler, no surprises, no cracks in the flawless facade. But life has a funny way of throwing curveballs when you least expect it. That evening, Alice was getting ready to wash James's jacket. He'd complained that morning about spilling coffee on it during his commute. She routinely checked the pockets before doing laundry, a habit formed over years. In the right pocket, her fingers brushed against a folded piece of paper. Without thinking, she unfolded it, and her world came to a sudden stop. It was a rental receipt. Not for the modest apartment they occasionally rented for her mom when she visited. No. This was for Harbor View, one of the most luxurious complexes in the city. The amount? $3.200 a month. The last payment? Made just yesterday. Alice froze, feeling her pulse quicken. Her mind instantly replayed all those evenings James had come home late. All the emergency meetings, unexpected negotiations, and server outages. She had always trusted him, he worked hard, and their stability rested on his career. But now, in her hands, lay irrefutable proof that he had been systematically lying to her for years. She slowly sank onto a kitchen chair, still clutching the damning receipt. Her thoughts raced. How long had this been going on? Who was she? How could he do this to her, to their children? For the first time, Alice realized she'd been living in an illusion. Their perfect marriage, their model family, it had all been a meticulously maintained lie. She remembered how just a month ago she had passed on a handbag she'd been eyeing for ages. We need to save money, James had said. And at that very moment, he was casually dropping $3,000 a month on a secret apartment. A lump formed in her throat, but no tears came, only a cold, hollow void and a rising fury. And then it hit her, she wasn't surprised. Deep down, she'd always sensed something was off. The odd phone calls he'd end abruptly when she entered the room. The new phone password. The way he'd started working late more often, especially in the past year. She unfolded the receipt again. Had she missed something? No. Everything was crystal clear. James Clark, her husband, the father of her children, was paying for an apartment she never knew existed. Alice took a deep breath and exhaled slowly. The initial shock had passed, replaced by a cold, calculated rage. She carefully folded the receipt and tucked it back into the jacket pocket. Then she hung the jacket back up. Laundry could wait. She had more important things to do now. She needed to find out everything. Alice didn't make a scene. She didn't throw the receipt in James's face or smash the porcelain wedding vase, a gift from his mother, whom she secretly couldn't stand. No. She handled it like someone whose world had just been torn in half, with methodical precision and no wasted emotion. The next day, while James was at work, a phrase that now made her bitterly smirk, Alice made a call. She found the number after 3 hours of digging through internet reviews. I need someone. Discreet, she said, her voice calm, almost businesslike. And fast. A week later, an archive landed in her inbox. A folder labeled HV_report_final. She opened it at night, while James was stuck in a meeting. The first photo, him stepping out of Harbor View. The second, getting into a cab. The third, her. Slender, shoulder-length chestnut hair, wearing a stylish coat Alice had admired in a boutique window a month ago but hadn't bought, not in the budget. James had his arm around her waist, laughing. In the next shot, he kissed her at the entrance. Sophia Martinez. 28. attorney from his office. Transferred to the Chicago branch 6 months ago. Alice closed her eyes. A memory suddenly surfaced, 3 a.m. In the kitchen, James slumped at the table, eyes red from stress. The client bailed, I blew the deal, he mumbled, head in hands. She stroked his hair, made strong coffee, listened to him vent about the unfair market. Now she knew, it wasn't a failure. Those were her tears he wiped away with someone else's kisses. The photos kept coming. Cafes. Movie theaters. Strolls along the lakefront, all places James and Alice hadn't been to in years because of kids, work, responsibilities. But the most gut-wrenching part was in the details. Sophia wore the same earrings Alice had hinted at last month, maybe for my birthday. James had brushed it off, too pricey, let's be practical. In her hand was the very handbag Alice hadn't let herself buy. And on James's wrist, a new watch she'd never seen before. A gift from co-workers for a big project, he'd lied. Alice didn't cry. She gripped the mouse so hard her knuckles turned white and thought about how foolish it was to be the good wife. She remembered how she'd given up grad school because he really needed her support in his early career. She hand-washed his shirts when the washing machine broke and they couldn't afford a new one. She sat through his midnight stress rants when all she craved was 5 minutes of silence. And now that stress. Turned out Sophia was very good at relieving it. In their bed. On her dime. Alice closed the folder. Tears? Drama? No. Just an icy calm and one question, darling, did you really think I wouldn't notice? Alice didn't smash dishes. She didn't tear his clothes. She didn't scream into a pillow at night. She acted. Step 1, money. She and James had always kept their savings in a joint account. It's only fair, he used to say. Now Alice saw just how hypocritical that sounded. One morning, while James was taking a long shower in reality, texting Sophia, Alice had seen the pop-up notifications on his forgotten phone. She transferred $187,000, nearly all of their savings, to a new account in her mother's name. Emergency home repairs, she thought, watching the balance drop to zero. Let him try to prove it was theft. Step 2, a lawyer. Her friend Laura, divorced 5 years ago after a similar story, knew every legal loophole in the state of Illinois. Are you sure? Laura asked when Alice showed up with a folder full of photos. I've never been more sure of anything in my life, Alice replied. Her voice sharp as a blade. Laura whistled. He has no idea he's already dead. Adultery plus hidden assets. He's walking out of this with nothing. And the kids? All yours. Step 3, recon. James had grown careless. One evening, thinking Alice was at the gym, he spoke loudly on the phone with Sophia. After the divorce, we'll get that villa in Miami. Yeah, she has no clue I've got the Cayman account. Alice stood quietly behind the door, recording every word. But the real explosion was still to come. The climax, renovation in hell. James handed her the keys himself. Plumber's coming Wednesday. Here, take the key. You'll handle it. He said, kissing her forehead. The same forehead he'd kissed in that photo, with Sophia. Alice entered the apartment like it was enemy territory. Everything was sleek, expensive. And foreign. We can't afford new furniture, he'd said 3 months ago. And now, here was the $8,000 couch she'd wanted for their living room. She opened the closet, his shirts, neatly folded by her, hanging next to Sophia's silk lingerie. Then she checked the trash bin. And saw them. Wedding photos. Torn to pieces. The moment they kissed at the altar. Him carrying her across the threshold. Even a picture with their first child, all shredded, mixed with fast food wrappers. Alice picked up a scrap. Her face had been carefully cut out with scissors. Something inside her didn't break, it changed. Not her heart, her conscience. She took out her phone and snapped photos of everything, the apartment, the closet, the trash. Then she quietly left, placing the key on the table. On her way out, she spit in their $1.200 espresso machine. Plumber won't be needed, she texted James. The Cook County judge didn't even try to hide his disgust. James entered the courtroom confidently, in a brand new suit which would later turn out to be bought with the last of the money from his Cayman account. He expected an easy win. After all, he'd hired the most expensive divorce attorney in Chicago. But his lawyer turned pale when Laura laid out her arsenal, a dossier, photos, call logs, screenshots of messages, even a jewelry store receipt for a ring he bought Sophia the same day he told Alice bonuses got delayed. A full financial report, including every hidden account, Cayman included. A lease agreement, signed by Alice Clark, landlord. What the hell? James shouted, jumping to his feet, face twisted. Alice only smiled. Sweetheart, you gave me the keys to your little apartment, she said calmly. And guess what I found there? A very enlightening lease agreement. She leaned closer and whispered just for him, you used my money to pay for a whore for 3 years. Catch the irony. The judge banged the gavel. Verdict, 80% of the assets to Alice, including the house. $7,500 monthly alimony plus full education costs for the kids. The Harbor View apartment. Legally hers. Turns out, in a rush to avoid taxes, James had put the lease in her name. But the best part came after the trial. Sophia was waiting on the courthouse steps, in that same coat Alice hadn't bought. So, she chirped, ready for Miami. James didn't even glance at her. You're moving out. Today, Alice said, walking past. I'm the property owner. And I'm evicting your side piece. Good luck finding a place, honey. Sophia froze. A month later, Alice received one last gift, a letter from James's HR department. Terminated for misconduct. Apparently, the affair photos had gone viral at the office. 1 year later, Alice opened Bittersweet, a cozy cafe in downtown Chicago. On the wall hung one photo, their shredded wedding picture, sealed in epoxy. Caption, sometimes the most beautiful things are born from wreckage. And James? He rented a room in the suburbs. And paid alimony. Right up until the day their youngest son got accepted to Harvard.